some of the most expensive RV repairs can happen because there's 3 common systems inside our RV that we use wrong. If you use them correctly, they will perform years without any problems. And if you use them incorrectly, you can get frustrated and you can spend money and your wife won't be happy. Guilty. All right, I'm Chuck with Lake to Lake, and I'm an experienced RVer. I've made every mistake in the book, and my goal in this video and my videos is to help you or teach you or show you the mistakes I made so you won't make the same darn mistakes that I did. All right, so let's get started. Here we go. Black tank. First of all, the black tank. We don't use enough water when we flush. We think we're afraid of filling it up. Well, you got 2 choices. Fill it up or stop it up. And let me tell you what, you don't want it stopped up. You don't want a poopsie pyramid, believe me. So you need to use water, and you need to use lots of water. And when you use the bathroom, you hold that pedal down and you get some water flushed down there. The more water you have, the better off you're going to be. And the other thing is, when you go out and you're going to full hookups and you hook up that sewer line, keep that black tank gate valve closed. Guilty. I didn't when I first the few times I went to full hookups, I left it open. And you know what happens when you leave it open? Solids come down, water runs out. Solids comes down, water runs out. Solids come down, water runs out. And guess what? Now you got a bunch of solids and no water, and they have no way to disperse it, to break it up. Any of the chemicals you put in aren't going to work if you don't have water in there. So, lesson learned. I learned it. I'm guilty. I now leave my black tank closed until it's 2/3, 3/4 full. Then I flush it. That's the way I do it. The other thing, which I do now and I've always done, is I have a black tank spray that I can hook up a garden hose to the outside and fill up my black tank. It's got these little spray things that spray around and fill back up the tank. I always try and flush it at least twice every time when I empty it. And usually the first flush, I get a bunch of toilet paper and different things out. The second time, the water is much clearer, much less debris in it. So that's the way I do it. And if you don't have black tank sprayer, you just fill up the toilet with water, or just hold the toilet lever down, fill it up with water, or take a 5-gallon bucket and dump it in there, fill it full of water. The other thing I do is I do fill it up with water when I travel. And I'm going to show you how I do that. It's real simple. Just take 5 gallons of water. Okay, now we got your black tank solved, which is water, water, water. We're going to talk about our Furrion 12-volt refrigerator. Now, we struggled with this. It always worked. It just didn't work the way we thought it should work. So we came to find out that, number one, you need to have that refrigerator on 12 to 24 hours, preferably 24 hours on and cooling before you get ready to go on a trip. You need to get that inside cool so that when you fill it full of food, it's just the food that needs to maintain the correct temperature. Plus, that lets you know it's working. There's nothing worse than hopping in your rig after you've been sitting there for 24 hours and your refrigerator not working. Now what are you going to do? Plan B. Not sure what plan B is, but you better come up with one if you want to go camping without a refrigerator. The other thing is, when you put the food in, it's less strain on the refrigerator, the compressor, and the cooling unit if the inside's already cold. You've already done half the work. The other thing is, start with cold food. If you're going to put food that doesn't need to be refrigerated, but you want it to be cold, like say an apple. If you want to put apples, put the apples in your fridge at home. That way when you put them in your fridge in the RV, they're already cold, and the refrigerator doesn't have to cool them down. So try and put pre-cooled food into the refrigerator. And same with the freezer. You know, well, you want to put frozen food in the freezer. So, I'm sorry, it makes too much sense to me. Now, here's the thing that I struggled with, or I didn't fully comprehend. This refrigerator, it's a 12-volt refrigerator, it runs off my batteries. This 12-volt refrigerator runs off my 12-volt batteries, or my converter. My converter only runs when it's plugged in. Now, that being said, if you have weak 12-volt batteries, at some point in time, this is going to shut down. Now, your lights may still work. Some other accessories may work in your RV, but the refrigerator is going to shut down due to low voltage. So you got to have good, strong batteries. And some of the recommendations I see said you need to have a 200 amp hour battery. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of good, bad, or better, but I'm telling you what, the bigger battery bank you have, the longer this is going to work and the less chance you have of it shutting down. The other thing is you need to keep your vents clear. I have vents at the bottom of the refrigerator. I've, by accident, not on purpose, thrown a towel down there and blocked those vents. Now, in my case, it didn't really cause any problems, but I still blocked the vent. I noticed that towel was really warm when I picked it up. So number one, don't do that. Don't be a Chuck. Get that thing out of the way. The other thing is, when you put the food in the fridge on the inside, you need to remember you don't want to pack that thing full. If you pack it full, and I mean you take up every space you can, the back's going to be too cold. The front's not going to be cold enough. You're going to get stuff. We've had eggs freeze in the back. We've had lettuce freeze in the back because we had it too crammed full of stuff. 3 or 4 days worth of food's all you can really put in there and have it work properly. Now, I'm not saying you can't put 5 or 7 days of food in there. You just got to know how to pack it right, and you got to get that air circulating in there, or you're going to have hot spots and cold spots, freezing spots, and whatnot. So don't overpack it. Okay, our freezer range, the ranges we want in our refrigerator. We want them to be between 34 and 38 degrees, and our freezer from 0 to 10. Now that's pretty easy to do. I have a chart here that will tell you. I have a chart here. I put it up by here. This explains how my refrigerator works, and you can see the chart. If I put it on max, it's going to get down to 30 degrees. Guess what's going to happen at 30 degrees? It's going to freeze everything. Now, my wife had a tendency, until I broke her this, and this took a couple years, she would put it all the way to max because it is not cold enough. Well, then it got too cold. Overnight, come up, and everything's frozen. Then what'd she do? She'd turn it all the way back. Find the spot you want. I have it marked on mine between mid and max, and it works out for us. But we got to leave it there. We can't be messing with it. If you go off-grid, there's an off-grid setting. And I'm telling you, the off-grid setting's not as cold as when you're hooked up to shore power. But just keep that in mind. Okay, let's hit the common mistakes. We assume the refrigerator uses very little power. I'm going to tell you what. You go out there for 2 or 3 days not hooked up to shore power, you'll be amazed how much your batteries drop. And you don't want to travel with weak batteries. If you start out the road and your refrigerator is going to shut off in the middle of you've got an 8-hour drive and it shuts off after 4 hours, you're going to be severely disappointed when you get to your campsite and plug it in. It's not going to be cold on the inside. Been there. Don't load it with warm groceries. Don't block the air vents. Keep that food spaced apart so the air can circulate on the inside. You do all that, you're going to be golden. Now, number 3, the Schwintek slide system. A lot of people have struggled with this, and the industry seems to have a problem with Schwintek. I've never really had any problems with my Schwintek. But I've learned how to use it, and I've learned how to use it better, and I've kind of, unfortunately you read the manual and then you learn lots of things. Well, this is one trick that I've learned, and I don't see a lot of people talking about it, but on the Schwintek, when you bring the slide out and it gets at the very end and it stops and the motor shut down, you're supposed to hold that the slide out button down for 3 seconds. And then when you bring it in the same way, once it stops, you hold it for an additional 3 seconds. That syncs up the motors so that they work in unison together. If they get out of sync, the slide's going to get cockeyed and you're going to have problems. So I'm going to show you how we do it. Okay, so as the slide's going out, as you can watch this, I hold the button down. It's going out. One, two, three. Okay. Okay, that's the one simple. That is the one simple tip for the Schwintek slides. Holding that power button or holding that switch down for 3 seconds after it stops. Okay, I think that'll wrap it up. Thank you for watching this video. If you like it, give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more like this, please subscribe. It sure would help the channel. Until we meet around the campfire, y'all take care now. Bye-bye.